Hi, Ravi.
Hi, welcome.
Thanks for having us here from Sinar Daily. I hope you can be actually politically candid with us.
Yeah.
So, Ravi, being the comms writer for PKR, what is your actual day-to-day like? What flyers you have to put up?
Every day, as you can see, this is my service center. We have people who come in from time to time. As you can see over here, we have all of these things that need to be sent to families throughout Lebah Pantai. Usually it's things like baby infant formula, and this is all going out. And apart from that, sometimes the problems that we face are a bit more complicated. Sometimes they're legal in nature. Sometimes they have to do with laws. There's some residents who come to me who have problems, like maybe they don't know what to do with the case. How I would describe it is work as a parliamentarian, as an MP in Kuala Lumpur especially, is like being in an emergency department. You don't know what case is going to come through your doors. Sometimes it's relatively straightforward. Sometimes it's quite complicated. So I enjoy it because no 2 days are the same, but it can also be quite taxing if you're not prepared.
So what of your responsibility as a comms writer for your party? What is your day-to-day like?
Usually I start the day scanning what's in the news. I check out what's in social media. I try to find out, if there's anything coming up, either in Parliament or in any of the major events happening. Sometimes it's also about whether certain events are about to take place, so we know, whether it's court cases, whether it's decisions, whether it's things that are unresolved, like major scandals, big issues. And oftentimes I check in with leaders to find out, is there something specific they want to focus on today. Sometimes it's to remind people that, hey, you haven't come up with something in a while, time to get cracking.
Okay, that being said, do you ever get tired of clarifying things for your party, especially for your party president?
No, actually it's really fun. I find that the work I do, you have to be very interested in the work. You have to feel that there's always something new to learn. There's always mistakes to be made, but what's important is that the mistakes are not critical, that you learn quickly, that you adapt and adopt new strategies to deal with these kind of things. For example, before we signed the MOU, we found it very difficult to help a lot of people. We in terms of mustering resources, a lot of it was we had to get from everyday, citizens, people in the constituency. So I like to show you, this is my job and training center, which also had to be our food basket collection and distribution center because of the pandemic and also because of the flooding recently. So this is one of the things which no one was prepared for, the floods, and we had to really bring all of the resources together quickly in order to help as many people as possible.
So, Ravi, before you explain a bit more on this, I just want to ask you, many say that the likes of Izzah, Rafizi, Ramli is the future face of the party. But where do you fit in the picture?
Well, I think for PKR, for Parti Keadilan Rakyat, we have a lot of young people. We have a lot of new talent. We have a lot of not so young people, but still relatively new faces. And I think what's quite wonderful and unique about this movement over the last more than 22 years, because really we started off in the streets of Kuala Lumpur during Reformasi, is that you have generations of, from those who are the frontline leaders to those who are now coming up in the ranks. So I think in the next year or so, we will start to see a lot more fresh faces, a lot more new faces, and hopefully we will have some of these, what I would take to be icons of the party, to really spearhead the leadership to face off our political enemies in GE15.
Still, where do you see yourself in this?
Well, somewhere near the spearhead, I suppose. Yeah.
Basically, one more question. Basically, what are you passionate about these days? What are you most passionate about these days?
Well, it's actually quite boring. It's actually urban planning, and when you look at what you see out here, a lot of the problems that we face in Kuala Lumpur these days has to do with how poorly planned KL has been over the last not just years but decades. We've seen it recently in the Auditor General's report 2019 Series 2 about how there were 6 out of 15 flood retention ponds that have been sold, the status of which we are still trying to find out now, but we've not heard yet officially. So one of the things that I'm very passionate about is how we plan and develop Kuala Lumpur. There are a lot of problems, there has been a lot of gaps, but a lot of the KL MPs and I, including YB Hanayo, YB Tan Kok Wai, YB Nik Nazmi, and many others, we're very concerned about how Kuala Lumpur is being developed. So this is one thing which is actually quite boring, but I'm very passionate about.
I know it's been a sore subject for the past 3.5 years, 4 years, but as a PH lawmaker, do you ever think that you could get past what happened during Sheraton?
Yeah, we have to. I think it's something very important to learn from. It's something which we know, perhaps, this is not something we want to repeat ever, because the loss of trust among voters, among constituents is too high. It's too high of a price to pay, and I think for a lot of people, it's not worth it. Yeah, what you see is that you create this period of instability. That's really what it's been. Instability in politics, in public health because of the pandemic, and also in the economy. Yeah, so this triple whammy is not something which we really want to befall the rakyat. And so we have to learn, we have to move forward. And one of the key takeaways from the MOU, which a lot of people feel that, PH, why do you bother? Why are you still signed on to this MOU when you see that the government has failed multiple times? But we feel that we need to pass the anti-hopping law to make sure that things that happen in February of 2020, the Sheraton move, does not recur. And this is important for voters to know that the sanctity of the vote, the value of their vote, and their choice will always be respected.
Okay, one last question, Rafi. Best advice for young people who wants to enter politics, or what would you have done differently?
Take your time. I helped YB Nurul Izzah in 2010. At that time, I had no ambition or intention to join the party even, but she persuaded me to join the party. And start off, take baby steps. Try not to jump into the deep end. Try and appreciate learning and failing. I wouldn't be able to helm a constituency like Lembah Pantai if from the get-go I wanted to be an MP. In fact, it was only much later, 5, 6, 7 years later, that it dawned on me that it's something which I was prepared to do. It takes a lot of resources, it takes a lot of time. I used to have black hair, so thankfully I still have hair. But the point is that take your time, appreciate, enjoy the journey. There's a lot of learning, and it's very important to know that it's okay to make mistakes, but it's more important to learn from the mistakes that you've made.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks, guys.